Welcome to the Rocker Skating Podcast. It is the week before the Olympics start. So we're very excited over here at the Rocker Skating Podcast, and we've got some big previews coming up for you. And if you haven't checked it out, I just launched a new version of the Rocker Skating website. Well, it's really a side version of it. It's the Rocker Skating Live app, which you can do a lot with, including really live, up to the minute, up to the second, really, play-by-play of practice notes. It is a much more user-friendly version than the one before. They will all still be archived on my website, but if you are joining live, you can literally have your phone or your browser open, and it will just update and refresh as it goes. Same thing will happen this week when competition starts with live play-by-play of the competition events. So take a look at that. I am also very much hoping to implement live fan scoring this week as well. So for those of you who are excited about telling the world what your scores are, it'll be readily available for you to take a look at and use. And the other thing that is very interesting is that there is a prediction central. So this is sort of proto fantasy skating. It's not quite fantasy skating yet. I'm working on that. But if you want to pick your top 5 in each discipline and also pick the top 5 that you want to win versus the ones that you think will win, go ahead and do that. Over 500 people have already signed up for it, which is crazy. And hopefully we get into the thousands, maybe more, and have a lot of fun while we are anxiously waiting for the Olympic Games. Anyway, we're going to get to our show, which is a really fun chat that I had with Mark Hanretty over the weekend before I left for Milan, and we talked about a lot of stuff, and so excited to bring that to you. And here's Mark. We got 2 interviews in a week, 2 very fun interviews, and today it's my old friend Mark Hanretty, who's been, I think, one of the people who probably watches skating as much, if not more, than I do.
I don't know if I can lay claim to that, Jackie. I think that you are
you're all over the juniors.
Nerd.
You are all over the juniors.
Actually, in that case, then maybe I do watch more than you.
I think you do.
Okay, maybe I
think you do. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I think I speak on behalf of the entire skating community geekdom in thanking you for your work. And I was just, before we came on this podcast, just kind of trying to interrogate you for an understanding of how you find the time that you do to be able to report the way that you can. But I think we've established that I have children, and that's my excuse for not being quite. But skating is your child.
I mean, this is kind of my child. But
Yes.
You know what? An obsession is a crazy thing. And I talk about this a lot when people ask me this. Not only do I have a way of, when I go for something, I'm like 150% at something or more. I'm also a completionist. So I try to, like in Pokemon, you got to catch them all kind of thing, right? Like
with the sport of skating, when is that going to end for you? When do you complete?
I have no, like there is no completion, but people ask me like, oh, why are you doing like the first group of Europeans?
Okay.
I'm like, well, one, I like to make sure that all my notes are as complete as I could possibly provide. But 2, I also, there are all these skaters who have worked so hard, and I want to be able to give them their due and at least be able to be like, hey, I'm covering you. Like you matter. You are part of the competition. Like, just because you're not making it into the free skate doesn't mean you didn't exist, right? Like, you're there.
It's such a wonderful point. I think probably your coverage of ice skating is very much for the community of skaters. I would imagine that's part of your primary motivation is to serve for the athletes themselves. And obviously for, like, when I think of the coverage that I'm involved in with skating, the work that I'm doing next week for the Olympics or whatnot, that's for a very different market. But that ethos of looking after the skater. I think that's something that the community and the skaters would really, really appreciate.
Right, right. I just think it's, whether or not they ever see it in their life,
I
some
think they
people
will.
wouldn't. Uh, it's good. It's good to give credence to the fact that they are there, right? And that they've worked a lot to get there. Anyway,
Mm.
enough about me. Mark, we know you as the voice behind a lot of stuff, and one of the great things about you is that you literally, your career as a skater covered all three disciplines. And three, I mean singles, right? As an all-encompassing, and pairs and dance. So now all you need to do is go on a synchro team. Um,
I actually was doing some synchro coaching with Anu, one of the amazing coaches in Finland, and I actually think synchro now. My appreciation for synchro as a discipline is off the charts. I think it's incredible.
I think it's the scariest thing I could possibly think about. Like, so many
I don't
people on
know.
the ice.
Yeah, I don't know what it was I was listening to recently. It could have been Ashley Wagner saying it, but I remember somebody echoing my sentiment when I competed at the European Championships and they have the post-event gala, and they had obviously all of the great skaters in the event, and then they had, I think it might have been Team Marigold, and I remember at that time thinking, wow, the synchro was the most entertaining visual thing that I have seen at this event, despite previously, as so many do, I'll hold my hand up and admit, think, oh, synchros for the skaters that have failed in the other disciplines. And so,
Hmm.
no, I am a learned man. Synchro is
It is. I
epic.
mean, there is such a hierarchical thing about figure skating too, right? Like I grew up in the world of like US figure skating being like, oh, there's a pecking order of like the singles are the ones who are like the most skilled, and then like if you're not good at singles, you go and do pairs. If you're not good at pairs, you go and do dance. If
Do
you're not good
that.
at dance, you go and do like I hate that is like a thing that's part of figure
I
skating.
completely agree. And I think, it's evident in, I suppose, any competitive environment whereby there is hierarchy and there's competition, and competition breeds lots of positives, but it can also be a little bit toxic. And one of the things that now I have come to the appreciation of, having been so fortunate to spend time with lots of very successful people in different walks of life, is that my guiding principle for success or hierarchy would be, how kind is this human? That's now my new benchmark. So it's helped me to be a lot more a lot easier to take on board anybody's misbehavior should I have previously pedestalized them based on their talent.
I mean, for sure. We all think about these things and kind of have fun and learn it in a sport that is so like sometimes elitist and
Mm,
very hierarchical.
so true.
Um, we missed you a lot as the voice in Europeans and four continents. I know you were in arena host for Europeans. How was that? What was that like? Like we saw you in different shots, and like
Okay.
we actually heard you quite a number of times because
Oh dear.
it was
I don't think I was
you know
meant to be heard on broadcast, so that
yeah,
may
but
have
it
my
was it
mistake.
was loud enough in the arena that you can hear, and obviously everybody knows your voice now from the skating community, and so we knew who it was.
Um,
What
I
was that
mean,
like?
being the end host, so this is a part of the ISU's new initiative to make, I mean, there's so many initiatives to further enhance the sport. And so they're really keen to make the in-event experience as best as possible. And I think you guys all experienced that. Those of you that were fortunate enough to be at Boston at the World Championships there. And now that's kind of the benchmark for a championship event. And I actually have never covered European Championships as a commentator, despite all the events that I've done, because since I finished competing myself, I've always been involved in the TV show Dancing on Ice, which crossed over that. So this year, without the TV show, I was hoping, oh, well, I hope I'll be considered for commentary. But then I had this wonderful opportunity to do the in-host thing. Never done anything like that before. And, with any new job, you're anxious and nervous. It was a privilege to be able, I love to cheerlead for the athletes, as you said yourself. You're here for all of them. And because I experienced competing at Europeans and Worlds as one of the ones not doing very well at the bottom, I have greater empathy for those that perhaps don't feel like they are as celebrated. So that was great to be able to do that on site. one of the biggest challenges for us was to be able to have to provide a short interview with each athlete when they come off the ice, but equally make sure that we were off camera so that we're not seen on broadcast. So for me, the biggest challenge was to try to, especially because of geographically where the skaters departed the ice in Sheffield, they then had to walk across the stage to get to the kiss and cry for us to then ask them a question, whilst all the while somebody's in my ear saying, "You've only got 30 seconds left."
Get out. Yeah.
And you want to be empathic to the person,
Right.
especially if they've not had a good one.
Yeah.
To be, I'm sorry, I hope you're okay. I've got to get you to say something to the audience. Or then
Right.
equally, sometimes we had the challenge where you had somebody who was elated, joyful, celebratory, and you're like, okay, but I need you to just say something, please. So it was a whole new challenge, but it was a very different role, and it was fun to be able to let loose a little bit more, because when I do the commentary, it's a wonderful job too, but it's a different kind of pressure and onus and responsibility, because when I was doing it in host, I didn't have to talk about any rules or any calls or any cues or any unders. So that was refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, you could just be like a very well-educated fan of the sport too, right? Like, it's very cool. It's also, I do feel like some of this like in-arena hosting rah-rah thing is very, in some ways US Canada, like the culture of that being part of the sports viewing experience, right? It's interesting because, in years past, when I would go to a U.S. Nationals, it'd be like, okay, yeah, I expect DJ Romeo to be there. I expect,
he was amazing.
All of the stuff that happens in between things that, they're hyping people up, they're getting the crowd, and then you go to like a Worlds somewhere else, and it's like, oh, everything's completely silent in between sessions, and it's like it's very different the way that they're thinking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because there are so many new people involved behind the scenes in the ISU, and one of the things that I repeatedly heard was that we want to make the in venue experience the pinnacle, so that everybody wants to flock,
go
to be a part of that. And
right.
There's so many avenues, of course, in which they're trying to celebrate and popularize and energize the sport. But it was interesting for me because I do so much commentary remotely, and even when I'm on site doing commentary, I'm looking at a screen. I'm in the venue to be able to, get notes or speak to people for the purposes of the commentary discussion, but I am actually looking at the screen. So I've never really considered how the in-venue experience would really be. But then the concept of, if we make this so epic that everybody wants to buy a ticket, then that will, I suppose, populate the expectation of what skating is to more people and just keep spreading the positive appreciation for our wonderful sport.
It's been really nice to be able to see more packed arenas and rinks the last few years.
Well, even like watching, I actually really struggle to get any coverage of like US Nationals, and I rarely ever can get that because of geo-blocking. Probably I could probably work around it, of course, but
you should have asked me.
Thank you. Next time. But I did see like little snippets from US Nationals, and to see such an amazing venue as it was, and it was the same production team that came to Europeans. So some of the same guys came straight from US Nationals, St. Louis to Sheffield. But it was really encouraging because, of course, I think what we all want, and what I hear like Ilya Malin reference, is we want to get glory days like the Michelle Kwan era. We want that. We want, you had Sandra Bezic on and you were talking to Sandra. I remember, what you were discussing as well about Sandra's commentary from the Pro-Am events. And even though they didn't show those in the UK, I had VHS cassettes sent over, and it was just in my mind's memory. It was such a magical time, and figure skating was just so amazing. And, seeing an audience as big as it was at US Nationals makes me hopeful that perhaps we can get to that kind of celebration again.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting. The sport does feel like it's gotten bigger this season, like even more than I think a usual Olympic season has been, especially in the US. When you're in Japan, it's a whole different story because it's packed wherever you go, which is really wonderful to see. I mean, I think a lot of us had thought about the post Yuzu era, would it sustain, right? Like would the interest sustain? And the fact that there have been so many great skaters that have continued to come out of the Japanese program, and they're now expanding to pairs and dance, and kind of filling out the roster of the full set of disciplines. It's nice, and Japan's going to continue to sustain the sport quite a bit.
And it was interesting. I just got, I'm sure so many of the people that listen into your podcast know I get the ISU updates, generic emails, and I saw that they've also got like a new app for the Japanese Japanese
the Line.
communities. Yeah, Line. And so, again, just further confirmation that, everybody's doing all they can to celebrate and keep injecting and connecting the fans of the sport, because, ultimately what we want, and one of the things that I'm really conscious of, is celebrate the athletes and actually give the athletes a life out of it. Because it made me so sad when, after the last Olympic cycle, there were Olympic medalists who, they got the Olympic medal in the sport that I'd spent my whole life wanting to achieve. And I think, but what can they do with it? They're just saddled with debt probably from achieving it. And if we can celebrate these athletes, then it, gives further motivation for other people to pursue the hardship and the arduous training that is necessary to be that good.
I mean, we're figure skating fans. We're always saddled with debt.
Yeah. says you going to spend a lot of money on accommodation in Milan.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. We're going to miss you at the Olympics, but you'll be at Worlds.
Yes. I was so kind of hopeful, especially because I'm not committed to other work that I'm normally committed to in the UK, that this year I'd be able to go to the Olympics, because for many years, because I didn't get to compete in Olympics myself, I was always a bit, it was too sad to think of the Olympics. So I've kind of like come around now, and I'm so invested in the skater. So I was eager to see, but I will actually be doing some punditry for British, for the Discovery Channel in the UK. So that's going to be a different kind of job for me again. And then I will be heading to both Tallinn, Estonia for Junior Worlds, and Prague, Czechia for Senior Worlds. So
how many times have you been to Estonia now?
My first coaching international was in Tallinn, Estonia. And
wow.
We've all.
So I mean, Tallinn is like now the place to be if you want a figure skating competition run well.
And run quickly.
And
optimized.
You want one next week? Okay, let's go to Estonia.
Yeah.
So this season has been everywhere. It's the Olympic season, and you started off with the juniors, and you then covered the seniors and Grand Prix. Big question here, but like, what are some of the like overall impressions that you got from the Grand Prix that maybe were maybe stuff that's like stuck in your mind over those 6 to 8 weeks that you're continuing to sort of follow?
Oh gosh. And this is where it's difficult, because I was saying to you that like in the commentary work, I don't really want to give personal opinions, but references and skater opinion and perspective. For me, in terms of
before you go, you are the one, I will say, you are the one who does the most homework out of anybody. I think out of anybody except for Tanith Belbin, who I know does all kinds of homework when she does commentary.
I'd love to work with her.
You do so much homework. I love it.
I'd love to work with her. I think I'm sure I've said this to you before, Jackie, and I've probably said it in other things that I've done, but the reason for me being so eager to do the homework to represent the athletes is because when I competed, there was commentary that was factually incorrect and cruel, and the combination of both being factually incorrect, it's like, well, you can forgive it on occasion, but to me that's just effort, and for me, like even now, what are we on, the 30th of January? I've got over a month till Junior and Senior Worlds, and I'm already thinking, right, okay, I got to start taking notice on all these athletes just to better represent them, because if we think about the lifetime of work and the body of work that's gone into getting them to be at that level, then we need to deliver that with the respect that
Absolutely.
requires. In terms of the past season and the Grand Prix and the Olympic year, I mean, the things that immediately spring to mind are the standout stories that probably most even non-skating aficionados are connecting with. Things like Diana's Dream, the upcoming Netflix with the ice dancers and all the hijinks and escapades and dramas over ice dance and what happened with calls and levels. That obviously does stand out. The
I'm gonna hit on that point in a little bit. Like we're gonna geek out on
Okay.
what happened with dance.
Okay, scared, but it's got to be done. Elia Malin's ginormous marker over and above the rest of the competition in an Olympic year, that's mesmeric. But for me, I have to, if given the mic to speak, I will have to still stand out and shout for Josefin Taljegård and that performance at Europeans. I adore her skating. I just think her musicality.
How did they give her those scores?
And that's where I over my commentary years, and especially as I don't coach and choreograph as much, not through choice, it's just the way that life has gone and the things that I've been doing. I do try to have increased respect and appreciation for the judges and an appreciation for all that they do and an understanding of why they do what they do. But certainly, to my mind, I feel impassioned to suggest that somebody that emotes with such musicality, in terms of the criteria that I read for program component scores, that I wish if I wouldn't be a judge. I admire them for the time that they give up, the volunteer work that they do.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do it. But if I had been inputting scores, I would have happily given the highest presentation component score to that athlete. And I would have, I could have stood up at a round table and I would have said.
That gives me chills. I mean, it like, no joke. There are certain athletes who work so hard at the presentation side of the programs, and they don't get any credit for it because it's like, oh hey, I'm gonna give you a 6 for skating skills, so I'll give you maximum 7.25 for presentation.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Jackie, because as chief skating nerd, I remember back when I was coaching more and I studied the World Championship results. I think it was 2019, 2020, maybe 2019. And I looked through the results sheet and looked at that point. It must have been when there were 5 components. And I looked to see the biggest differentiation from the skating skills to any of the other 4. And in a world championship across all 4 disciplines, there was no more than, I think 0.57 was the greatest differentiation, but most of them were nowhere near even that. I have noticed this season that there have been a spread of a 3/4 point. And I think maybe it was a domestic event. I saw like just over a point range from skating skills to composition or presentation. Now, to put into context, when I am choreographing, I love musicality. Like Josefin Taljegård, I love it. I connect with it. I did that Young Artist Showcase where we met. Like I love being a choreographer. But if somebody's paying me money to provide them with a service, I'm really torn now with the idea of, okay, well, I'll happily have a lovely time delving deep into storytelling, musicality, and concepts, but you're paying me money, and for you probably want results, and the results might mean actually we're going to go and work on your flow and your glide because that's going to give you skating skills, and then you're going to get your composition mark. So I'm perhaps being a bit too open and honest, but I certainly hope to see increased confidence in rewarding those that deliver presentation and composition.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're not going to talk about that at all, then like don't have a presentation mark. But you have it, and it's there.
Interestingly, I don't know what it was like for those that watched, online, because it does, things do read differently. But it was interesting for me in this past week or so since Europeans and being back at, Ice Sheffield is the rink that I'll coach at. So I'm in the venue where they had the practices. And I've been coaching a whole range of different people, adult skaters, beginner skaters, elite skaters. And interestingly, when I even chat to less experienced skaters, people that aren't nerds like you and I, and I'll mention, oh, did you see the Swedish girl? And they'll really have connected with that as well. And I feel like one of the best parts about our sport is the way in which it can make people feel. I'm trying to think of the examples of programs over the course of our skating history whereby you really connect and you feel. And I think that's one of the best things of the sport. And I'm here to celebrate and promote and tout it because I think most people, like Yuna Aoki. Yuna Aoki. Oh my gosh. I mean, yes, she's to become the four continents champion. So, of course, she's been able to marry up technical and program component scores. But when she was doing the Grand Prix, you were asking me about things that stood out from the Grand Prix.
Yep.
It's a little bit moot point now because she's just beaten two members of the Japanese Olympic team. But prior to that, when she was lower down, she was still the talking point. She was still the one that I was seeing online getting the most shares of the program, getting the most traction. And so surely, in our efforts to better popularize the sport, it's the things that connect with other people that we should celebrate because it appears to be the one that gains the traction. I mean, a quad axel that's impressive too, but that's it's a different story.
I mean, it's also not to say like, hey, Josefin Taljegård should have won Europeans, right? But like,
No way.
give her due, and give all the other skaters who can do the stuff that nobody else can do, like
an Anna Pizzetta triple lutz on its own. Like I'm like plus 10. Wow.
Yeah.
Like celebrate the good when you see the good.
Exactly. It's just, it's such a skill, and it's a disservice to the athletes when you're not. When you say you're going to celebrate one thing and then you don't, and it has to be disheartening.
The only good thing is we need to find a timestamp for whatever this is. Send it to Josefin, and also know that I think there's a little army of people that are cheering for people like that, and Yari Kessler, and these or Spanish skater minions.
Tommy
yes,
Guarino.
so these people that we champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy. Okay.
I digress.
Can we talk about dance?
Yeah. Okay. Go on. What you gotta ask? I'll brace myself.
So even before we go into the actual judging and calling of the whole thing, what have your thoughts been on the last 4 years of rule changes, like this current rule book for ice dance that a lot of us in the skating community have thought has been too restrictive, and also getting away from the spirit of ice dance what it originally kind of was as a discipline. Like, thoughts on that?
So it's interesting. I don't know if it was when I was at the Grand Prix final or when I was in Finland, but there's a whole lot of talk, and because we're immersed in this community, and because ice skating has always been my life, and now it's my job, it's the way that I provide for my family. So I am a very niche remit of the viewership who is entrenched within it, and with that brings a lot of passion to see it represented well. And I have a care because I know so many of the humans involved. You're empathetically connected and want to see them thrive and see them succeed. And that, as I said already in the course of this podcast, it has saddened me that there are some incredible artist, athlete, ice dancers who have showcased such brilliance but haven't been able to dine out in it for the rest of their life. So we all, I want that, and I really do want that. When I was people ask me all the time in and around venues what I think, or online, what did I think? And so one of the things that I really would love to do is to co-align, or almost hold a questionnaire or an open forum to all the different facets of the people involved in our sport. Because I have heard from judges and officials and technical panel members and skaters and coaches and choreographers and fans. And they're a different remit as well. The fans have their very staunch opinions as well. So I've heard from so many different corners of the sport who all have passionate ideas about what they believe to be necessity for the future of ice dance. And I hear such passion and often such acumen and sense about what they believe should happen. What I would love to see is a coalition to help push the sport forwards. Because when I can listen pragmatically to different opinions, I can go, oh, okay, that's good. And what I also notice is that whilst there is an animosity towards those that give out the rules and the regulations, because it would be ignorant of me not to acknowledge that there has been a wrath towards those that have given those. I do also want to play devil's advocate in recognizing that the people that assign this criteria, they want the best for the sport too.
Yep,
so it's not like, anybody's going out there trying to do a disservice to anybody. It's just so many different, this just needs to be a coalition. And on the back of that too, when I was in the midst of last season, and I was away at an event, so I was in the gym every morning and I was just put the iPad up and I watched an Olympics ice dance, just to try and see, well, what's happened? Because the system that we work with now since 2002, many people reported that ice dance was the discipline which had most benefited from the system. I think a lot of people realized or felt that ice dance had, I think Sandra even said that with you on the podcast, that, she felt that ice dance was the one that had been bolstered most by the criteria. And yet now, obviously, there's a backlash and there's a belief that it is not. And I watched 2006, 2010, 14, 18, 22. And I do understand why rules and criteria and, elements were put in to give objectivity to a subjective discipline. But I think everybody appreciates that we have perhaps lost what is most enjoyable about watching ice dance.
Mm-hmm.
But you could argue on the discussion we've just had about Josefin Taljegård, we most connect with emotion and storytelling, but that doesn't always necessarily justify the title. So it's finding a place where there is space for emotion, storytelling, connection, while still having some semblance of objectivity for the athleticism of the sport.
Right.
And yeah, as I say, I would love to give everybody a forum. I could be the I don't know, not judge and jury. I don't want to be that. I want to be the person that gives everybody the opportunity to speak. Intermediary. Yeah, that's the
something. Yeah, I mean, as many of us know, creating things by consensus is an impossible task. But it is one of those things where I am also in the camp that ice dance has the fact that ice dance has been given structure and it's been given rules and those types of things has helped it. And it's helped it, at least for me, it's helped it be a more interesting sport. There's a question of when it gets too far, and sometimes I feel like the last 4 to 8 years of the continual putting in a box of elements, right? Like, your lift can't be more than 12 seconds, or you have to go from here to there for this thing or the other, and then it starts all looking the same if you don't have the people who are doing this creatively.
Yeah, what I was going to say though, I suppose, is that still within that, what I admire then is, you'd asked me about the Grand Prix series or my thoughts on the season thus far. And when I think about ice dance, weirdly, I still think about like Una and Gage Brown and the uniqueness of that within the choreo sequence. And then Yuka Orihara and Juho Pirinen and the somewhat mad absurdness of theirs. And I think, well, there's still some semblances whereby the rules have given opportunity for creativity. Yeah, I mean, who would have known? Like back when I'm watching 2010, anybody that was competing in that Vancouver Olympics would never have considered that they would be allowed to do the stuff that Yuka and Juho are doing in the middle of their
absolutely,
program now. So,
absolutely. It was much more proper, right? But also, I think that's where the true like creatives and innovators really shine through, and that's across the disciplines. The ones who really are giving you something interesting and new are the ones who stand out, and they transcend the rules and the judging system and stuff, and that actually, frankly, makes it even more interesting. But then you got a whole bunch of things that are like maybe a little bit more cookie cutter, because it's not that they don't have creativity, it's that it is hard to do all this stuff.
and again, you could argue the point that fundamentally the skating skills are what wins. if you're spending as much money as these athletes are doing, then you have to be invested in results. Of course, you have to have something to justify the expense of whoever's paying the bill. And when skating skills are paramount, that's where, so much of the emphasis would have to go as opposed to, entertaining us as much.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I want to talk about something a little bit dicier, which is
Gosh, ice dance is dicey enough, man.
well, the diciness of what happened in ice dance. You had to thread the needle quite a bit with Laurence Fournier-Baudrier and Guillaume Cicerone, the new partnership, with the history. And I know, you and I have talked about this separately, but like I know you're well aware of the context behind everything, the sexual assaults from Nikolai Sorensen that were alleged, and he's banned from the sport, right? And that led to the Laurence Fournier-Baudrier being available for a new partner, and then the split of Gabby and Guillaume, and now Gabby's book that has come out talking about their history. How do you, as a commentator, think about how to talk about these things and give it the time of day without delving into the details too much to the point where it then overshadows the skating?
Well, God, you really are. That's dicey. And I mean, I suppose before I speak, I would want to caveat anything that I say with I'm always eager to learn how to better represent. One of the biggest challenges, I'm very conscious that I'm human. I make mistakes, and I'm just very, very privileged that I've been asked to commentate on the skaters in the sport, and in doing so, I've only ever tried to represent the skaters as best I can and the sport as best I can. When I commentated at a World Championships in Montreal, gosh, I think it was Montreal, and I did commentary on one of the couples that you mentioned. I then had like death threats online about the way that I spoke about the team, and that was obviously very hard to take. And I was certainly never, I would never go out of my way wanting to disrespect anybody or upset anybody or not be mindful of somebody's situation. And so, on the back of that, I've had to be really conscious of implications of all. It's very hard though when you're commentating though to know the backstory of everybody, and so that is very, very challenging because everybody has a past and a history. And so for me, when I want to celebrate the skaters, as I do, because that's what I'm seeing in front of me, I've then had people comment, coming at me saying, how can I dare to be praiseworthy of somebody because of what they've done in their past? That's really challenging because I do a lot of homework, as you know, and I try as best I can, but I don't know everybody's backstory and everybody's failing. And so that has been incredibly challenging. I can only now continue to try to do as much homework as I possibly can, and try to represent everybody as positively as I can. So that's an answer to how do you prepare for commentary. That's one. An answer to your question regarding Gabriella and Guillaume and that partnership. Again, in my preparation, of course, I'll be commentating and have commentated on these people, and I have had phone calls with people that have been adversely affected by actions that have happened in the past. And so then that plays into my brain space as to how do I discuss these humans when I know that I've had a phone call with somebody who's really triggered by stuff that I've said or stuff that they've done. And so I find it very challenging. In terms of the Gabrielle and Guillaume thing though, I just think, I don't know, I've read bits and excerpts of Gabriella's book that's been translated. I've read a statement by Guillaume, and I just think it's a bit like our royal family. You know what I mean? Like, some people are pro Prince Harry, and some people are pro William, and some people hate on Harry, and some people hate on William. Well, not so many people hate on William. I don't know. Or Victoria Beckham with her son. There's always two sides to every story, three sides to every story, and you can't please all the people all the time. And so when I'm commentating, I think I'm skirting around the subject perhaps, and I apologize because it makes me anxious. But in terms of me commentating and talking about these people, I just try to see the best in the humans and try to praise them where they're at. And I just hope that, everybody's on a journey, and I wish everybody all the best. But 3 sides to every story, 10 sides to every story. And what I do really struggle with is the online trolling and the online abuse. And I understand why people get impassioned about stuff, but we don't, what's that thing? Never judge somebody till you've walked a day in their shoes or something like that. Like, we don't know everybody's story.
Well, the Olympics are coming up.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
What are you excited about for the Olympics?
Like I said to you, weirdly, for so many years, my like any aspiring skater, so many years I want to go to the Olympics, and my trajectory would have been 2010, and for various different reasons it didn't happen. And so I've always had this kind of like pain in my heart when I think of the Olympics and me not going. But this year,
see, that's the great thing about not having been a very good skater, was that I never was going to the Olympics. So it's like
you can enjoy it. Lucky you. I hope for this Olympics that it is a real mega celebration of skating, and it puts our sport as firmly on the map as possible. I hope that, the stories of the different athletes, I hope everybody skates brilliantly, but I hope that some of the brilliant athletes that we've got heading in who are already garnering lots of press are really elevated. Because, look at Simone Biles and what I don't know, but I imagine that gymnastics membership is elevated because of the attention and traction she got. I hope that certainly in the United States of America, that Ilia's amazingness, or the 3 girls on the podium, that Alyssa, Amber, and Isabel are going to, draw people to appreciate and enjoy our sport the way that Michelle and Tara would have done, or Christy, or any of those American greats. So that I want a celebration of our sport, and I hope it happens, and I wish everybody a clean skate. If everybody could have a clean skate, please, that'd be amazing.
I hope the things that go viral for the Olympics for figure skating is not a scandal, right? It's it's the sport, and it's the skating, and it's the people.
But it still gets traction because we, rightly or wrongly, humans seem to love a freaking scandal. But that's not, we don't want the traction for the scandal this time,
right,
please.
Right. Yeah. There's been too many of those being like, oh, this is the sport we're talking about.
And then why is it that then, like the Tonya Nancy situation, the whacking helps the sport? We don't want that. We want just amazing athletes and humans to be getting us more success for the sport.
Who knows? Human nature.
I'll put it out there. Good stuff.
Mark, I know you have to go on with your day, and we have to go on with the fact that the Olympics are starting next week.
Yes.
And it's gonna be amazing. Hopefully, I am willing it to be amazing, because it's the Olympics, and we only get it once every 4 years.
And everybody will be tuning in to rocker skating for all the updates.
Oh, is that right? Let's hope.
Yeah,
let's hope. Okay, well, we will see and hear from you at Junior Worlds and at Worlds, and can't wait to see you in person again.
Are you going to Prague?
I will be. Yeah.
I'll see you there. Happy days. Cool.
So I will see you there. But thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for having me.
Hope you have a great day, and hope you enjoy the Olympics as much as everybody else is going to, hopefully.
Peace out, Jackie.
Well, we're not going to hear Mark for the Olympic Games, but we will get him back for Junior Worlds and Worlds. So thank our lucky stars for that. That's it for this week's Rocker Skating Podcast, or at least today's Rocker Skating Podcast, because there's going to be a lot of material coming out. Previews will go on the podcast, day by day analysis, recaps, what have you, that I will be doing on live shows. Will be coming to you live from Milan, likely on a daily basis on YouTube. So take a look at that, and make sure you are prepared to do all sorts of listening and watching and everything, because there's going to be a lot of content ready for you. All right. Well, for Michelle Ellis, who is very hard at work for NBC right now, doing all the research, this is Jackie Wong, Chief Skate Nerd of rockerskating.com. Thanks as always to John Wilson Blades for your generous support, and thanks to all the fans out there who have been supporting through your contributions, your pin purchases, everything. And then also just generally the fact that you are following is so great. Thank you to Tara Nichols for listening to me blab, and we will talk to you again very soon. Bye.